So how often do you come across fresh men's fragrances that are actually quite unique? Not that often. That's exactly why this is a video I've been wanting to do for quite some time, because not only do I think these are amazing, I also think they're quite unique. This is Kenzo Homme EDP, this is the EDT Intense, and this is the latest EDT Marine. And this is my comparison and ranking. So for some reason, I really don't know why, I stayed away from Kenzo for a long time, and these three are the first I bought from the brand. My journey started with me blind buying the EDP, I believe it was sometime last year, and I liked it so much that I bought the EDT Intense and I blind bought Marine as soon as it was released. Now I have not smelled every fragrance out there, so to someone else these might not be unique, but if I compare these to other freshies in my collection, they are definitely unique. I think they are fantastic, but they are a bit different, so I wanted to compare them and share my thoughts on them with you. I will first go through what they smell like, then performance, usage, similarities, differences, and then finally rank them all. Before I begin, a like is highly appreciated, thank you, and make sure you subscribe. So let's start with the order of how I bought them, so the EDP. So the notes in Kenzo Homme EDP are marine notes, leather and patchouli. So the mix of marine notes and leather is what made me so curious that I had to buy it. So Kenzo Homme EDP straight away opens up with a marine kind of freshness, and to me it's a very smooth and unique kind of marine freshness. Freshes can sometimes open up in a very intense and bright way, but this is smooth for sure. Within a minute or two in comes this mix of spices and this quite intense saltiness, which basically turns the whole thing into this very aquatic, spicy and salty scent. It's still smooth though, and to me it's the marine freshness and the combo with the saltiness that makes it unique. As it dries down, and this does not take long, in comes a mix of woodiness and leather, and the whole thing turns into this mix of soft marine freshness, a prominent but soft dose of leather, and soft woodiness in the background, and the whole thing being quite aromatic. I think this contrast between the marine freshness and this sort of a soft warmth of the leather and the woodiness is quite cool. Definitely, at least to me, also quite unique. The more it dries down, the less fresh it is, and instead more sort of a soft, leathery and woody. I think it's very cool because you got this unique contrast going on. This is a freshie, but also not a super fresh kind of freshie. It is a leather focused fragrance, but if I compare the leather in here to my other leather fragrances, the leather in here is not as sort of intense and leathery, if that makes sense. So it's a hybrid that's in a way more versatile than most leather scents, but not as light and fresh as some freshies can be. So moving on to the EDT Intense. Some of the notes in Kenzo EDT Intense are calypso, pink pepper, spices, fig, fig tree, vetiver, sandalwood, akigala wood and patchouli. So I like the EDP so much I bought the EDT Intense, and much like the EDP Intense opens up with a dose of marine freshness, but it's a lighter and fresher take on it that's brightened up even more with a bit of spiciness. Behind that marine freshness, which again I think is quite unique, there's this fantastic fruity sweetness courtesy of the calypso. Now I could be wrong, but I believe I have max 2 other fragrances with calypso in them, and none of them smells like this. So to me that's a very unique scent. I love it, and my experience in wearing it is that a lot of people enjoy getting a whiff of it, but among guys it's a bit polarizing. So you get this mix of smooth marine freshness with the fruity sweetness of something watermelon-ish, and the whole thing is slightly salty and a bit spicy. As it dries down it gets less fresh and more woody intense with a very smooth sandalwood, and you still have that fruity sweetness going quite strong. The full dry down is basically smooth woody, spicy and slightly salty with a bit of fruity sweetness and that marine freshness in the background. It's fresher than the EDP, and it's a fruity fresh combo that's very unique. So moving on to the EDT Marine. So the notes in Kenzo Homme Marine are scene notes, ylang ylang, sandalwood and musk. So the EDT Marine is the latest release that I bought last year. I'm gonna link to my first impressions of it above, so please do check it out. This opens up with that marine freshness. It's slightly different, but it definitely reminds me a bit of the EDT Intense and also a bit of the EDP. And this marine freshness is intense, but an even lighter kind of freshness than the EDT Intense. So intensely fresh, but with a bit less depth to it compared to the EDT Intense. So if the EDT Intense is fresher and brighter than the EDP, then this is intense freshness that's a bit lighter than the EDT Intense. Marine freshness with a bit of saltiness, much less salty than the EDP though, but a bit more than than the EDT Intense. As it goes into the mids, you start getting a whiff of that ylang ylang, which to me basically adds this creamy floral kind of freshness to it all and makes it feel a bit more sort of exotic and almost gives this sort of a tropical vibe. The mids is also where I'm getting this soft and almost fresh kind of musk with a bit of sweetness. I don't know where that sweetness is coming from, but this, at least to me, definitely has a bit of sweetness to it. I do not feel that the sweetness is the same as that of the EDT Intense. The more it dries down, the more woody it gets, and I get less of that fantastic freshness from the opening and the mids. The musk seems to stay on the same level, so the full dry down is essentially smooth sandalwood with a bit of soft musk, a hint of freshness and a floral touch. That creamy and tropical vibe is still present in the full dry down, even though it's much softer by then. So a quick summary and comparison. The EDP has this Kenzo Marine DNA to it, combined with a soft but prominent dose of leather, and it's woody with quite a bit of saltiness and something aromatic. It's all about the contrast between its marine freshness and the sort of warmth from the leather and its woodiness. A freshie, but not your typical super fresh kind of freshie, and definitely not a typical kind of leather scent either. The EDT Intense takes the whole thing in a more fresh and fruity direction, and it has that Kenzo Marine DNA to it, with quite a prominent fruity watermelonish kind of sweetness that to me is very unique. The dry down is basically a smooth woody affair that's slightly spicy and slightly salty, with that fruity, fresh, sweet combo in the background. It's fresher, fruitier and sweeter than the EDP. The Marine is all about a lighter but intense kind of freshness with that Kenzo Marine DNA, and it has a creamy tropical floral touch to it. The dry down is mostly soft musky with smooth sandalwood and that floral touch. They all have a woody side to them, but that woody side is, at least to me, the sort of a darkest and deepest in the EDP, lighter but more nuanced and with more layers to it in the EDT Intense, and even lighter in the Marine. So what about compliments and reactions from others? The most complimented so far has actually been the Marine, followed by the EDT Intense. What I've noticed is that both of these really cut through the air and seem to get attention. The EDP is definitely not on the same level as the other two, and I believe it's simply because its freshness is not as intense as the other two and because it lacks the sweetness which the other two has. So what about the performance? Performance is insane with all of them. And I'm not kidding when I say that each of these bottles have their own scent cloud. I don't know what Kenzo puts in these to make them this intense, but other brands should definitely do the same. The EDT Intense might just be a bit stronger than the EDP, and while Marine is slightly less strong, the performance is still great for the kind of scent it is. People easily pick up on these and it stays on my skin for a long time, and even like days if I get some of this on my clothes. Performance is Rebel approved for sure. So when should you use these? I think you can use the EDP throughout the year, and I mean you can use the EDT Intense and the Marine throughout the year as well, but both of these are so intensely fresh that I think they are perfect for summer. At times I've used both the EDT Intense and the Marine as my gym scents and really only need a spray or two. I think they are more casual scents and perfect for less formal situations, but like always, wear whatever you want whenever it makes you feel good. So who are these fragrances for? They all have a unique kind of marine freshness to them, and while most seem to enjoy getting a whiff of them, I think its marine freshness is something you will either absolutely love or dislike. So try first if you can. These are for someone who absolutely loves aquatic marine scents and want something that's quite different from most other freshies. So what are some of the alternatives to these? I don't know of anything that smells like these, so at least to me, there's nothing with this kind of freshness or sweetness. But for freshness and sweetness, I do enjoy the new Shampoo Gaultier Le Beau Paradise Garden, which is a mix of sweet coconut and aquatic and green freshness. Not the same and very much a sweet coconut focused fragrance, but it's a scent I think is fantastic. I'm gonna link to my review of it above so you can check it out. For something that's not sweet but aquatic and a freshie I think is amazing, there's Armani's Eau de Parfum. It's a woody and aquatic scent with a fantastic aromatic side to it. So how am I going to rank these and which of them do I think is the best? It's hard to choose my absolute favorite because I do like them a lot, but in third place comes the EDP. It's the aquatic freshness that made me fall in love with these, and out of these three, the EDP has the least of it, and its freshness also fades away faster than these two. I think it's a cool scent full of contrast, but out of these it comes in third place. Second place is insanely hard because I do enjoy the truly intense combo of freshness and sweetness of the EDT Intense, and I also enjoy the Marine's lighter take on it. While I absolutely love the Intense, some days I just don't feel for its intensity, and that's when the Marine is perfect. Marine is still intensely fresh, but not as intense and not as sweet as the EDP Intense. Marine also has this creamy and tropical feel to it, which I think is amazing. It's pretty much a toss-up between the EDT Intense and the Marine, and I keep going back and forth between which of them is my favorite, so I'm gonna place them on shared first place. I can't remember if I ever placed something on shared first place, but I do enjoy them equally, but in slightly different ways. I would love to hear from you if you tried any of these, your thoughts on them, and which of them you think is the best. Like this video, I really appreciate it. Make sure you hit the subscribe, make sure you check out the videos over there, and I'll see you in the next one.